Hello and welcome to the Liner Notes, where every genre is examined and every artist is considered. I'm Andrew, and your album of the day is Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool. This is Radiohead's newest album, came out in 2016. Oh baby, beautiful. One of their slowest records. This is a real slow burn, but when it hits its high notes, holy shit, it's incredible. Anyway, now that we've gone through name of the show, what it is, album of the day, let's talk about what the fuck this show is, because this is episode 1, baby. First off, I want to explain just that this podcast or show or whatever you want to call it is a passion project of mine that I've been trying to do for a really long time, but I just kind of didn't know where to start. So it's gonna seem a little janky at first. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with it. My ideas as of now revolve around having it be section based. So first section would be running over some music news, and then the next section would be some sort of smaller topic, and then some sort of big topic that I tackle, either like a new album that just kind of came out, or talking about an artist and their entire discography, or something like that. So I'm still trying to figure it out. As of right now, you know, I'm just gonna start off with this best albums of 2017 so far, and we'll see where it goes from here. Basically, my goal with this show is to find new music myself and share new music with people who watch. I don't claim to know everything about music. I know a decent amount about a decent amount of music. And I figured, why not share that knowledge and try to find some new stuff while I'm at it. So let's get into the list. So I want to quickly start out with about 7 albums from this year that I really enjoyed but didn't quite make it into my list of albums that I really want to be talking about. So I'll run through them, give like a sentence or two about them, and then we'll go on to the big list. First off, we have Thin by Syd. Sounds kind of funny, but Syd was originally in the group Odd Future, and she came out with an R&B album this year that is pretty good. Her voice carries it the way through. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it that much, but it's definitely worth a listen. Next is The Iceberg by Odyssey. This is a pretty damn good hip-hop album. Got some really conscious lyrics in there. My only problem is, like, other things just kind of overshadowed it. It's a really good record, but there's some other albums that I wanted to talk about that just kind of blew it out of the water. Definitely worth a listen, though. Go check that one out. Next, Harry Styles' self-titled album. I was not expecting this to be even remotely decent, which is kind of where it stands still in my head. It's okay. It tanks in the second half. It just gets really boring in the second half, but there's some really great tracks on here. He will be on my radar from now on. Like, this is an awesome debut because he can only go up from here. So I'm excited to see where he goes. Next is AZD by Actress. This is a really awesome electronic album. It just didn't pull me back like I wanted it to. I know a lot of other people, a lot of other reviewers and whatnot absolutely loved it. I think it got Best New Music on Pitchfork. So if you're big into electronic music, check that one out. He does some really, really cool stuff with music itself, or with sound itself. So please check that one out. It's a cool album. Next, Freddie Gibbs' You Only Live Twice. This was actually on my bigger list, and I ended up bumping it down because of another album that I'll talk about. This album is a little too short for its own good. It clocks in around 30 minutes, and I feel like it should be a lot longer, but it is a very good album, especially because it has a certain tone and like emotional setting that we don't often see in hip-hop. I'll leave it at that. I'll talk about this album later much more in depth, but you'll really get a sense of this on the last track. Let's just say not many people have gone through the same stuff that he has, so check that album out. It's a good one. Lastly, I want to talk about SZA, or S-Z-A, I think it's SZA, her album Control. This I probably should have put on my bigger list. I just haven't listened to it enough to really talk about it in depth. This is a great R&B album. She comes through with some really killer songs. Kendrick pops up on one of the songs. Like, this is an awesome, awesome project. Again, I would put it on my chunkier list. I just need to listen to it a bit more. So that will end up showing up on my year-end list. I'm willing to bet, because that's a damn good record. Okay, so we have made it to the big list. So this is in order of release date. This is not in order of which ones I liked the best, or which ones I liked the least kind of thing. This is just in order of release date. I will say when it was released, along with the title of the album and who it's by. So the first one came out on January 27th, and it is Valley of Grace by Elucid. This is actually one of the more recent albums that I've listened to, even though it's kind of the first one on the list. I was expecting almost nothing from this album because I didn't know who it was, and friends sent it to me. A friend sent it to me pretty randomly. Whew. This album fucking is awesome. This album is killabub. It's experimental hip hop. He comes in with these awesome hip hop tracks that are just laced with this like industrial sound, these like grinding noises kind of thing, and it's just, I'm pretty speechless on it, to be honest. Like, it was one of those albums, so it clocks in around 30 minutes. It's short as fuck, and one of the songs is 10 minutes, so like every other track is around 2 minutes, so that it just blasts through it. Like, you're done super quick, but it's so powerful. Please check this out, because it's 30 minutes. If you don't like it, it's done quickly anyway. Be aware that, you know, it's got some funky sounds to it, but it's a fucking killer record. Please check that one out. He is on my radar now. Next, we have Process by Sampha, and this came out on February 3rd. This album is so good. This album, I keep coming back to this album. I keep fucking coming back to this album for like 40 reasons, but number one, Sampha's voice. Sampha's voice is incredible. Incredible. And he pushes out such a wide variety of tracks. So some are just really heartfelt and emotional, like No One Knows Me Like the Piano. You know, it's this slower song. It's basically only piano and his vocals, and he is singing about a number of things, but one, the death of his mother, which is like obviously heartbreaking, but also just this like alienation he felt as a kid, where he's singing about how the piano is the only thing that knows him for him kind of thing. And it's just this like powerful track that is also, I don't want to say catchy, but it's just so beautiful that you're going to come back to it time and time and time and time and time again. And it's so fucking good. But then also on that album, you do have the more catchier ones like Chorus Sings, which is just this like really danceable track. But then after that, you've got Blood on Me. Actually, it might be before it in the track list. Yeah, that's the second song, so right before Chorus Sings. You've got Blood on Me, which Sampha has talked about as being, it's basically the musical equivalent of a nightmare, and it feels like that. There's this anxious, like really anxious sound to the instrumental. He belts out these notes during the chorus, but then in the verses he's like got this like weird spacey delivery to it. There's not a bad song on this record. it is top notch. And it's amazing that this was his first album. Like, he's done a couple other things before this, but this is his debut album. Holy shit, we're in for a goddamn career out of this dude. Keep your eye on him. Next, we have, and I was just listening to this one today, Being You is Great, I Wish I Could Be You More Often by Quelle Chris. That is a mouthful and a half. So that came out on February 10th. So this is another hip-hop album. Where do I even start with this? You can probably tell by the album title. This shit's not gonna sound like what you're used to on the radio. This doesn't sound like Drake. This doesn't sound like Migos. This is alternative hip-hop. Right off the bat, literally on the intro to the album, which is the first like 40 seconds, you will notice how odd his production style is and how similar it is to Madlib, which is good. Madlib is one of the greats. And you know, it starts off with this intro track that literally just says, Being You is great, I wish I could be you more often. But the way he does it is he clips out these certain samples of like some TV show way back, he took the word being. Some radio show way back, he took the word you. Is great, and put it all together. So it's like, Being You is great. And it feels really weird, but it's awesome. And then he comes in with the second track, which is just this funny self-love song called Buddies. And the lyrics are, you know, he's just like, I fucks with myself. I look in the mirror and I fucks with myself. And, he's saying like, I buy flowers for myself. And it's really weird, but really endearing. And he's got this really, I personally like it. I could see why other people would not, but he's got this very odd delivery in his vocals. They're like, it's like very nasally, it's very flat. He's not gonna start getting aggressive, or he's not gonna get heartfelt. It's just gonna stay right about here for the whole album. Like, that's pretty much the line that it stays at. Again, I personally like it, but it's kind of like one of those Danny Brown situations where you either love it or you hate it. It's not funny all the way through, though, because this album deals a lot with this existential ideology. And some tracks are really difficult. But it is such a fantastic project that if you are a fan of hip-hop, you cannot miss this one. Please go check this out. It's about an hour long, so it is on the meatier side, but it's pretty fantastic all the way through. I implore you to check it out. Please check it out. So the next album I want to talk about, this one's kind of odd because I honestly thought about putting this on my like quickies list that I already gave you because, all right, so it's Drunk by Thundercat, and this came out on February 24th. So this is a great album. This is a fantastic album. My problem with it is that it's not his best, and I feel like he's capable of a lot more. But if you compare it to The Golden Age of Apocalypse, I think that album is far superior. Drunk, well, it's far superior in its musical abilities. I think that Drunk is a funnier album. I think that Drunk has just better lyrics. But Golden Age of Apocalypse is like, it's just so good. It's so pleasing sonically. And it's like the perfect length where Drunk just kind of goes and goes and goes. And by the end of it, you're kind of done. But again, it is a really good album. He's got some really strong tracks on it. And there's some funny shit on here that is pretty unique to his style. There's also some pretty good features on here. Kendrick pops up again, which is only fair because, you know, he's all over Kendrick's stuff. But then there's also some other kind of odd features on here. Like, Wiz Khalifa comes up on Drink Dat, and I don't even remember that song, to be honest. Like, it's so... This is an album that really could have used a couple of cuts, which is funny to say because I'm looking at the track listing right now, and most of the songs are around 2 minutes. It's like there's some that are 1.5 minutes, there's some that are 2.5 minutes, there's a couple that are 3.5 minutes, but there's a lot of them. There's 23 fucking tracks on this. I think that a couple of them should have been cut. Again, this is a great record. You should definitely check it out. Friend Zone is an awesome song. If you really like kind of jazzier stuff, check it out. This is an album for you. Next, we got Hot Thoughts by Spoon, and this came out on March 17th. How are the boys of Spoon able to put out only good records? I don't really get it. They do not have a bad record yet. Sure, not all of them are not all of them are perfect 10s or anything, but Jesus Christ, every single one is good. Their consistency is through the goddamn roof. And it's so weird. I don't get why they aren't bigger, because they are just this, like, they have such an awesome sound that is semi-familiar because it's in, like, the rock atmosphere, but they're on they're on, like, a fringe of it that sounds different from other bands. Like, these guys don't sound like Jack White or Arctic Monkeys or anything. They have this, like they can borrow from that sound, but they'll mess with it a bit. I don't know. They're fantastic. This is another great record by them. It's not my favorite by them, but it's fantastic, and you should check it out. I'm seeing them again this summer, and I'm very excited. I love Spoon. You should too. Oh boy. Alright, so next we have A Crow Looked at Me by Mount Eerie. And this came out on March 24th. I don't really know where to start with this album, because it's not fun to listen to. You won't feel good listening to it. So Mount Eerie is, if you don't know him, go check him out. His name's, like, his human name is Phil Elverum. And he's had 2 different bands, Mount Eerie and The Microphones. And he is, like, one of my favorite artists ever. So basically the story behind it is, semi-recently Phil's wife died. And he wrote this album seemingly as a coping mechanism. It doesn't feel like he wrote songs here. It feels like he turned, like, journal entries about what he was feeling after her death into music. Like, for example, there are literally parts in this album where he says, like, it's been 3 weeks since you've died. It's been this long since you've died. Like, it's that candid. But it doesn't stop there. It's so fucking personal. Like there's so many personal details that he shares with us that are just like, why are you sharing this with us? Like, thank you. This is beautiful, but why? Like, I wouldn't have the courage to share that. Like, you know, there's a song where he literally talks about taking out the trash in the bathroom and how hard that was because there were certain things that she had thrown away in there. Like, fuck. There are other parts where he's talking about, like, being with friends and whatnot, and feeling bad about talking about his wife, because he says, like, are they just tolerating it? Are they sick of hearing about my dead wife, as he puts it? Like, this is an incredible folk album. It's painful. It's fucking painful, but it is so worth a listen. Please check it out. Please support Phil. This will be on my year-end list, no doubt whatsoever. Next, we got Pure Comedy by Father John Misty. If you're not familiar with him, he is a Seattle-based... I think he still lives in Seattle. I might have to check that. I know Fleet Foxes is Seattle. He used to be in Fleet Foxes. Either way, he is a singer-songwriter that does, like, a weird... He does rock, but it's kind of, like, 50s infused. Only in sound. His lyrics are really cynical and really jaded and really amazing. So he's fucking hilarious. And he put out Pure Comedy, by far his most depressing album to date, but also still fucking hilarious. I'm not going to say much about this one, because it's a fantastic record. You should listen to it. You can listen to the whole thing on YouTube. Go to his record label's YouTube, Sub Pop. They have the whole thing there that you can listen to. The best way I can describe it, and I've said this too many times, but I think it's funny and it works. It's like getting punched in the balls and then going on a Ferris wheel. Because it hurts really bad, but while you're on there, you're like, oh, this is really beautiful and amazing, but holy shit, I'm in a lot of pain. Another album that I really should have put on the shorter list, not because I think it's bad, but because I've only listened to it twice, I think, so I don't have a lot to say about it, is All-American Badass by Joey Badass. This is his second studio album, but third or fourth full project. I think fourth, because I think, I think fourth. Either way, this is a really good album. It's a really good conscious hip-hop album. Much catchier than his previous stuff. Or not catchier, I guess just modern sounding. It doesn't have that 90s sound that he usually goes for. And his songs have more, like, they have catchier hooks. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. They've got catchier hooks, catchier choruses kind of thing. Which is something that he didn't always mess with too much in favor of, like, just good bars. But again, this is a really good, conscious, political album. It hits 1,000 different topics, but I think that's kind of warranted in today's world. I'm not going to get into politics right now, but that's an awesome album that you should check out. I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I've only listened to it twice. If you like hip-hop, that's a good one. Alright, you ready for this puppy? Next, we got Damn by Kendrick Lamar. I'm a huge Kendrick fan. He's kind of one of those artists in my head that can, like, do no wrong. This is not his best album, but it's still really fucking good. I mean, I'll be singing Humble until I die. I'll know those lyrics until I die. That's a killer track, along with DNA. One of, like, the nastiest fucking... That's just an intense track. It's just such an intense, like... You just want to punch someone in the face when you're listening to that. And it's complemented so fucking perfectly with his awesome samples from Fox News, where it's just these, like, absurd fucking quotes that he can also just, like, kind of get mad at. That you can get mad at along with him as he's, like, spitting these fucking fire-ass verses. Like, I'm getting worked up. Here's the thing, though. Even though it's got some of these awesome, nasty-ass fucking tracks, I think it's got one of his worst tracks to date, and that's Love. That song feels like a Drake song, and a lot of counter arguments I've heard to it have said, like, oh, he's trying to do a Drake song and just easily do it better, and I get that, but I think Kendrick can do way better than that. It's just this, like, catchy summer jam that I end up skipping every time, because it's just like, there's nothing bringing me back to it. There's nothing, like, sure, Zachary has good vocals, but he sounds just like The Weeknd and isn't quite as good. Kendrick's got some pretty meh lines on that. It's just like, I think it's one of his worst songs to date. It's just like, This is a skipper and a half. And then God is, I like it, but it's not a good track. It's one of those ones where it's like, I like this, but I know it's not good. It's another one. Kendrick could be doing better. Even other songs on this show that, like, he outperforms himself a couple of times. It's so weird. I have very strong feelings about this album, if you could not tell. I'm gonna leave it at that. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. If you don't know Kendrick, start at the fucking beginning. He's incredible. I need to go to work. I'm gonna finish this later. Next one I want to talk about is Perfume Genius's No Shape. This came out on May 5th, if I'm getting that right. 5/5. 5 is May. Yes, correct. Boom. Ha. Jeezers Peasers. What a fucking record. If you don't know Perfume Genius, it is Mike Hadrius? I'm butchering his name. It is his solo project, and he's put out 4 albums at this point. Yeah, 4 albums. And No Shape is his newest one. And holy shit. So his style is kind of like, it's very slow, it's very soft, yet it's very beautiful. So it's a lot of like piano and vocals, and that's about it. It's pretty stripped back. This album though kind of immediately throws a monkey wrench into that equation. So it starts off with his regular like soft, melodic, stripped back style. And then within the first song, within the first like minute, this fucking wall of sound, just like synths, strings, just blast in out of nowhere and like basically just fill the entire room with this like palpable energy. It's fucking awesome. It sets the tone for the album of just like, this is different from the rest of his shit. Like, if he's talking to you, he's like, this is different from my stuff. It works so well, and it is such a strong fucking record. The song that I was thinking of that does that, the first song, is called Other Side, and it just comes in so strong. It just blasts you with this, like I said, wall of sound, because that's the best way I can describe it. It's just, please listen to that album. If you like softer style music, check that one out. It is worth your time. Wowzers, bowzers. Alright, next album we got is Rocket by Sandy Alex G. This one's weird because I don't know how to like really pronounce the artist's name, because it's Alex G, but before that, in parentheses, it says Sandy. I think it's Sandy Alex G. It could be something weird, I don't know. Either way, fucking Christ, this is an awesome album. I had zero expectations because I did not know who this was. I need to go through and listen to the rest of his stuff, but man, this is a strong record. So this is right up my alley, because it's this weird mix of like folk, little bit of punk, not a ton. If you're a big punk head, it's not like, there's some influence. It's mostly folk. Like the first song is just a straight folk song. But then it gets weirdly experimental with this album. I've heard this comparison. I don't want to use it too heavily because I don't believe it that much, but there is a slight Death Grips-ish type of experimentation in it where it just gets very abrasive. It's very, very abrasive and very, not tough to listen to, but just intense. It gets really fucking intense right around the midway point, and then it kind of comes back down. But this is a great album. I was expecting absolutely nothing, and it blew my socks off. You can find it pretty much anywhere. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on Spotify, you can find it on SoundCloud, which is a cool one if you're a SoundCloud user. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just a weird, awesome folk album with some experimental shit thrown in. We're down to the last 2 so far. Fuck. Shit. Maybe 3. Next, we got Fleet Foxes Crack Up. Hold up. Hold up, dogs. Hold up, dogs. This shit was so good. I done bought it day 2 it was fucking out. You heard me right. Beautiful. Oh, oh, oh. I was actually just listening to this album today. Fucking Christ, this is amazing. So if you don't know Fleet Foxes, they are a Seattle-based folk band. How's that? Seattle-based folk band. So their style is obviously folk, but they're able to get a lot of sound out of that and a lot of like mileage out of it without it getting too obnoxious, because sometimes folk can fall into this like just cutesy area and they don't really hit that, especially with this record, because this is their most odd record to date. It immediately, literally within the first 2 seconds, starts off by telling you that this album is going to be more challenging, a bit darker. It starts off with the song I'm All That I Need / Ario Secco / Thumbprint Scar. I don't know why there's 3 names to it, but great track nonetheless in it. And it starts out very, very soft, like very, very soft, to the point where you're like, I can't hear him, and you're trying to turn it up. And then once it feels like a boulder that's very slowly turning, and then it starts to gain speed, and then it just fucking goes. Because at about like the 40-second mark or something like that, rather than doing like a crescendo, it does like a tiny one, and then just pops straight up, and it just goes loud, right? So this album really works with that. It just does these weird sound changes where it's whisper quiet and then super loud, and then back to whisper quiet and then super loud again. And it does that throughout the album. Like on this song, it does it a number of times. On 3rd of May, it does it a number of times. It's so cool. But it's one of those albums where the first time I listened to it, I was not like enthralled by it, because it's a difficult listen. They throw some weird shit at you. First time I listened to it, I was like, I don't get it. And then I tried again, and I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times, and then it snapped. And then it was like, okay, I get it. I get what they're going for. This is fucking awesome. If you don't like it though, it's like, that's understandable, because this is a weird album. It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's all I'm going to say as of now. Check out that album. Check out the rest of their stuff if you don't know them. They are one of my favorite bands. They're fucking awesome. And I'm seeing them this summer, and I'm so excited. That was obnoxious. I'm seeing them this summer, and I'm very fucking excited. Alright, next. Bada bing, blasting through this list, we got Dose More. Melodrama by Lorde. This came out on the same day as Crack Up, June 16th. I expected virtually nothing out of this album. I knew, obviously, Royals and Team. I thought they were fine. Like, good tracks, just fucking overplayed. I knew a couple of her other songs here and there. Like, I think I had heard Tennis Court. I don't know. I ended up going back and listening to the whole record. Good record. It's one of those pop, that's pure heroin. It's one of those pop albums. It's like, oh, this is a surprisingly deep pop album. This is very good. But Melodrama, whew, this is a good album. This is exactly the direction she should be going in. This album is a little darker than pure heroin. It's a little more antisocial. It is a very, very good album that is all about feeling like you don't fit in. This album really resonated with me. So I feel like I'm a little biased on it. I know that other publications, I know that Pitchfork gave it like an 8.6 or something. I know that The Needle Drop gave it like a 6 or 7. I think he gave it a 7. I don't know what I would give it because, again, I'm a little biased on it. It really resonated with me. See what you think for yourself. Know that it does one of 2 things. So it kind of jumps back and forth between radio hit stuff and then slightly experimental stuff. And that's where I think it really hits its stride. She ended up working with, I think his name's Jack Antonoff. So he's done a ton of like radio hit stuff. And I'm wondering what the album would have sounded like had she not worked with him. I'm wondering if he helped or if he held it back, basically telling her like, no, it needs to be catchier, it needs to be catchier, because when it does do some slightly more experimental stuff, I'm all in and I want her to go in that direction. Yet there are a lot of like radio concessions and like compromises almost, you know, it feels like somebody was telling her, and I think this Jack guy was telling her like, hey, maybe let's lean a little bit more towards that radio sound that everybody is on. This is a really good record. This puts her so much higher up on my radar. I really loved this record. This is one that I'm going to be going back to time and time and time again. Just like pretty much all of these on this list, but that one, again, it resonated with me. Check it out. Last record I want to talk about. Whew, we've made it. Okay, last record I want to talk about came out on June 23rd, so just a couple of days ago. I'm not going to say a ton about it because I have only listened to it twice so far. So I want to listen to it a bit more, and then I'll talk about it much more in depth later, and I want to talk about this artist as a whole. But this is Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory. Whew. This is a good record. This is exactly where I wanted him to be going. This is exactly where I wanted him to be going. So Summertime 06 is an awesome album. And his 2 EPs are great. And they put him on the map, right? They put him on the map as a good, conscious rapper, right? With a good style, and showed that he was able to make some radio hits like North North. Here's the thing. This album goes deeper. This album goes weirder. This album goes much more experimental. It takes risks, right? Like Crabs in a Bucket, the first song. It was partly written and produced by Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. And once you know that, fuck, you can tell, because it's like spacey, it's a little dreamy. There's this like Bon Iver-ish side to the production on it, and it really, really works. But then he comes through with like a more radio hit next, Big Fish, right? And then Alyssa's interlude, which is this weird bit where it's Alyssa, I don't know who it is, I probably should, and she's talking about love, and like this album just goes through like these weird bits of like experimental, like more radio friendly, and then it like weirdly changes back into experimental. That's all I'm gonna say about it now, because again, I need to listen to it more, because I've only listened to it twice. This is a good one though. Keep your eyes on Vince Staples, because he has yet to put out something bad, and he's just going up from here. I'm really excited to see where he goes from here. I'm keeping my eye on him, and you should too. And check out this album, because it's fucking rad. That is what I have so far for this year. I am missing some albums, as in like I've missed a couple big ones like that I haven't listened to them. Some that I have missed kind of thing. I haven't listened to new Roger Waters album. I haven't listened to the new Mac DeMarco one that's on my list of ones to listen to. I haven't listened to the new Sun Kill Moon one, Animal Collective. So I'm still making my way through stuff that slipped past me, and I'm still listening to new stuff. I know some album, Jay-Z's album just came out today or yesterday, and I need to check that out, but there's a whole fucking thing to it. But that's my halfway through the year list so far. Let me know if I missed any. Because, I don't know, that's a strong list right there. That's a strong fucking list. But let me know if I missed any. Let me know what you think of those albums. Thank you for checking this out. Thanks for taking the time to humor me with my music shit. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Keep listening to music. And remember, your album of the day is Radiohead's Moon-Shaped Pool. Please, go listen to this today. It's fucking amazing. Alright. Goodbye.